Hey, welcome back to this episode of One Puff Media. We're up here in Cleveland. We're getting Pulse on the scene. How's everyone feeling today?
Yeah,
good.
Well, I would like to say, we're doing a shout out to One Puff Media, but we're doing a collab effort. So
Absolutely.
Shout out to everybody at this table. Right?
For sure.
Between the Budz,
OCHBS,
and
cannabiseducation. Yes. Yeah. So how's everyone doing, man? Why don't we go around, just introduce yourself, tell everyone what's up, and what you're about.
All right.
Start us off, man.
Y'all guess.
There you go. Hey, I'll start it. Hey, my name is Broderick, but also known as Dro Derek, from Between the Budz, and I'm involved in the cannabis community quite a bit. I just enjoy trying to help people get more closer to the plant and more involved, more educated, and I'm a sickle cell warrior first and foremost, so I'm always advocating for that as well. I've discovered how this plant provides a much better quality of life instead of relying on opioids, and that's what's also driven me to just stay involved and active and let people know there's so many forms out there that you can use in this plant. So, thank you for the opportunity. I'm looking forward to this conversation and happy to be a part of this.
For sure. Welcome, man. I feel like we're right. Welcome. Yeah, welcome.
My name's Greg. I make pictures out of plants.
Dope pictures.
Yeah, right.
Let's be real. I mean, I make pictures out of plants too, but they don't look good, I promise. No, man, you do some awesome work. I was asking you earlier, how long does it take to make one of yours, by the way? Like when I saw that Bob Marley one that you had that print up, what does something like that take, dude?
Faces can take a while, like upwards of a couple hours, just because I'll work on it and then I have to step back to see what it looks like and poke at it and prod at it, and then eventually I'll feel good about it and put it under the camera lens, and then I'll see a whole bunch of other things that I want to adjust on it too.
That's awesome.
It can take upwards of a couple of hours to figure out.
You ever finish something and then someone turned on a fan by accident?
I mean, I don't want to say I've messed up pictures in every way you can imagine, but I've definitely had the moment of frustration where I'm or the cat, when I had a cat jumping up on the table in the middle of a project.
Terrible.
I've even been over it ready to shoot, and then the little tool that I use to move the weed around, I've dropped it and it hits the middle of the picture and everything's shockwave. So I've learned to have patience with it. But yeah, I've messed them up. When I do live events, people walk up and they touch it. They don't know if it's real or glued down or something. So I'm kind of used to fixing stuff.
Yeah, you real chill, laid back, so I can see that. It just happened.
You just poke my shit, man. You just poke my stuff. You know?
Internally, I definitely and as I've grown as a person and in the industry and as an artist, I've definitely become more patient with it, and I can appreciate people's curiosity with it. It definitely used to bother me more, and now I'm well, congratulations, you're part of this art piece now. And it takes them feeling awkward off the table really quickly, and then they're leaving feeling good about themselves as opposed to I can't believe I did that.
Yeah. I mean, you gotta feel a little bad, but at the same time,
I don't want to feel that.
Yeah.
Most people aren't doing it maliciously, and those that are, even if I do have something to say, am I really gonna course correct them? Probably not.
Yeah, and you're right. Who can be mad at a weed event? I mean, if you are, you're in the wrong headspace to be there, I would say.
I just got other shit to worry about.
Yes.
It's a pile of pot. It was gonna get messed up at a point anyway. You just accelerated the process a little bit.
It's interesting seeing a big cannabis trade show and then other trade shows, and you see the different mentality, and people are really just depressed, it looks like, in some other other big B2B conferences, but cannabis ones, everyone's the best. That's why your event's the best.
Hey, I appreciate it.
The vibes are good.
Speaking of, how about you?
Hey.
Introduce
Yeah, come on, man.
First and foremost, I'm a fan of everybody that's here. That's why I say, hey, let's come back and let's talk about it, right?
Yeah.
Watching everybody on LinkedIn, social media, seeing this guy grow, seeing you grow, been watching him, but didn't even know he was here.
Right.
So this is a great thing for me. But my name is Lenny, founder, CEO of the Ohio Cannabis Health and Business Summit. So this will be year number 5. We are the largest cannabis event here in Ohio. You know, my whole mission and goal is just to bring the community together, bring patients together, and bring people together to understand, like you said, what the plant was about, kind of, you know, alleviate the stigma to some degree, because we ain't gonna get rid of it at one event or 2 events, right?
Yeah.
But just basically to show the industry to the masses, right? Let people know that these are regular people working regular jobs in here, just like a dentist, like a person in Walmart or what have you. So, come from the music industry is my background, did that for 30 years. I was a DJ for 13 of those 30 years, and just kind of been in the weed industry basically through music, right? With Khalifa and all these guys that I was around, so it was all synergetic for me. But having a medical clinic for a couple of years is really what made me start the conference. From talking to patients, them not understanding what it was or getting bad information, I was like, you know what? Going to other events that really wasn't helping people understand the industry per se is kind of what made me create OCHBS.
That's pretty dope. I like that. Because we've all said it in some way or another, but cannabis and business can go together. But it's healthcare first and foremost, but it also can be done as other businesses. So I like that you combined all of that, and just changing the perspective and approach to the trade show, which is kind of very valuable in this industry. A different way to spice it up and make people want to attend, because they're going to learn different avenues and perspectives of the industry. Yes, that's huge. Education is power.
Education, for sure, all day.
You know, then we didn't have nothing here, you know. We're from here, you're from here, you're adopted here. But, you know, I just wanted something for home, you know. You know, we see Vegas, we see Boston, you know, everybody had this thing about their city and their community. Ohio didn't have that. You know, not, in my opinion, not like on the bigger scale. You know, there were
not like
events
Massachusetts and stuff. And
there were people doing events here trying to bring us together. You know, not saying that none of those were not meaningful, but it just wasn't nothing that made us like, oh, I want to go to Ohio for this
to speak
or can MJ Unpacked and MJ BizCon, right? We didn't have that here, so I was like, hey, I'm gonna go ahead and take a shot. See if it works.
Part of it all. Bring it.
I mean, going around to all the shows, yours, it just, and I always say it just has a different vibe to it, you know? And the level of education that's there is really awesome, is from a consumer's perspective. And it'll be interesting to see how it shifts, just from an overall, I guess, attendee, now that it's fully rec, it's been a little while. Curious to see how it grows for you this year, in comparison to last year, just because of the educational side. I think now that it's rec, most people are gonna be more curious about it. People who were always on the fence, who were just never really a user of cannabis, but maybe, you know, the shift of legality is now like, well, it's legal, so I can go buy a beer, I might as well just go try and see what the cannabis industry is all about.
It's the hope is.
Yeah, awareness, that's our biggest problem anyways in the industry, in my opinion, so I think it helps with that a lot. Like, so many ways you can't advertise and market, so it's just kind of like, you know, getting people in front of numerous brands or products or just all different entities of cannabis is huge.
Yeah, well, and you know, the marketing side is so weird, especially in Ohio, with the fact they wouldn't allow it. And now, when you see states like Michigan, it's too much. And we were talking about this earlier, about like the forward exposure of social media and kind of marketing. It's all geared towards people who already know about the industry, people who are already cannabis users, right? And I think to create that level of mainstream acceptance, it starts with having just a structure around what they're saying is okay for marketing, and then really limit that. Like, I don't think there should be billboards, you know, with people smoking weed on it, because I don't think we should be pushing that on kids or having it that level of exposure, right? But I also don't think there should be, you know, half-naked women with bottles of, you know, liquor on billboards either. So I think it just needs to be done in a way that it's also educational. And I feel like most people are just slinging marketing out in a non-educational way. So it doesn't really help bring on a broader acceptance. We were talking about that with the videos and stuff.
I'm almost grateful that there's not more standard advertising available, because it would make it even more difficult for the culture to survive. Like if you could just hammer Facebook ads with Curaleaf bullshit.
Oh, dude, that'd be terrible.
That's my biggest fear for cannabis and these MSOs, is that they come into a state, they take over the market, and before you even get to experience the potential of cannabis, you've experienced mid-grade cannabis, and you're not legally allowed to get anything else.
Oh, that's a good take. Yeah.
Like imagine if the only coffee you could ever get was Starbucks. And like, if you're in a state that didn't have coffee legal, you're just happy that you can have coffee without the fear of arrest. You're not going into the dynamics of the company's ethics and shit. So like, that's my greatest fear, is that like, I mean, sometimes you gotta, all things in moderation, like not everybody can quit Amazon and, log off of Meta and everything, but like, just try to use a little less is all we can do. Try to support the mom and pops when possible, but if those big companies had access to traditional marketing channels,
it'd be pretty disturbing.
It'd probably be over in terms of getting the word out, because they would get through the mesh and the culture would get stuck, and we wouldn't be able to talk about the shit that makes real cannabis dope, because it's not easily regulated and digestible for the stupid masses.
Yeah,
they need to be connected with.
Did you see, like, what are you seeing a shift with the marketing in kind of cannabis from coming from the West Coast, and seeing that kind of evolve to what it is now today, and then what you're seeing here on the East Coast?
I mean, it's such a difference. It's hard to even compare and contrast right now, because the California market and the West Coast market is primarily brand driven based on connections made during the medical days. And Ohio never really had a medical market for these patient-focused groups to create their foundation with. And that's what the big change for me was in California. We had culture-focused events 3 days a week.
So it sounds like, not to cut inroads, it's like California is years ahead. Well, obviously they are, but it's just like they're in the future and it was coming.
Yes and no, because they've made a lot of missteps in terms of how their system is set up as well. But even it's not like there's everybody in California accepts and loves weed. Like there's still people who are anti about it.
Right. I just think too though, like California always was more open to it, rather like here when it starts in a new place, it kind of has that opportunity to be education focused, or medicinal focused, which it was really strongly here in Ohio. But now, as it's becoming more adult use or recreation, they call it, it's some people are just kind of like throwing the education side.
Well, it's never been in the large companies' interest to promote education, because an informed consumer asks questions, and when your answer is, we radiate our flower, that doesn't sound like medicine anymore.
Oh yeah,
so
it's mediation game, man. Oh shit.
Like the people who come in and they buy up the licenses early, they play defense now, because the only way that their mid-grade Starbucks survives is without people having access to anything else. And at least Ohio has got home grow, which is going to give hustlers little pockets that they can grow fire and create relationships with outside of the prying eyes of the government. But without home grow, like look at Washington State. They legalized in 2016 under the guise that in the future we'll add home grow. The same crap that Florida tried to pull this year. They're like, oh, well, we have to legalize and then we'll add home grow. It's 9 years later in Washington and they still don't have home grow.
At least that's what they did right in Virginia. Because in Virginia, it's rec legal to consume and to grow, but you can't buy it anywhere recreationally. It's bananas.
But you said that woman, it's rec legal to consume and grow.
Yeah, but you can't buy it anywhere. Without med card.
That's interesting.
So
that's
like
kind of smart.
But it's like here though. I mean, think about it. We're legal, but we're not.
Is that
right?
Yeah.
We're still operating under medical rules.
Correct.
So I don't know. I mean, just going back into the diversity thing. I mean, that's kind of was kind of why we're all here, right? we're in the space in all different aspects of it.
Right.
And I mean, I think that's what drew me to the industry, and kind of what I wanted to get out when you was talking about education. When we were trying to pass issue 2, you know, on all these interviews, everybody was asking all these crazy questions. I said, it just comes down to education, right? Because I'm not going to go vote for something that I don't understand, right? It's either going to be a no for me or I'm going to think about it.
Right.
So if you can help somebody understand why it needs to be here, because this person needs it and maybe that person doesn't, but I don't want this person shaming you, you know what I'm saying? Because I don't smoke weed because I don't have a condition. Well, he does. Right. And he needs it other than opioids or whatever, as you mentioned earlier. Yeah. So, I mean, I think really that's kind of what the industry should really be focusing on, right? Even though it's an adult use, even though it's recreational, and going back to the West Coast versus the world, the West Coast adopted it, and I'm just speaking from me, from the music side of it too. So when you think of all the artists that came out from that way, they made Cali weed relevant, right? And it wasn't like, hey, you smoking weed, you a drug addict. No, it was a cool thing, or it was something that no reason. I mean, I don't know why Snoop started smoking back in the day, but you know, he could have a medical condition and not say nothing about it, or Dre or anybody else. Right. But it was just a part of the culture. Yeah. So nobody thought any different if you lit up at a party. So, oh, I'm just smoking, right? No different than smoking a cigarette or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, not to get off subject, but I'm just saying, like, I just think it all comes in full circle when we're talking about building up the community of cannabis.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, part of the reason I came back to Ohio is because I realized in California, that's not the way to reach the masses. Like, there's way more people in the world who resonate with a Midwest message than resonate with a coastal message. Right. And so coming back to Ohio, it's if I can figure out how to convince all of these people that there's a space for weed, whether they're conservative or liberal or whatever their education level is, like, you know, this is a farming community. This is a resilient state, and like weed checks those boxes, and finding ways to resonate with middle class Midwestern people and how they can begin to accept cannabis and the consumers of. That's going to be the same conversations that we're going to have with people around the world. That level of like misunderstanding, you know, drug war impact. Like, it's not going to be liberals on the coast that are already predisposed to being accepting of new ideas. It's going to be people who are like dug in due to lack of direct exposure, and they're going to have to be exposed to education and things that are going to make them comfortable. Not like, look at how much weed we smoke.
Yeah,
they see that and
it doesn't help the message.
They're like, you're bonging a beer. Yeah. Like that's.
Same,
and when I see somebody,
100%. That's what we were talking about. Like just the consumer-facing content that's out there. It's all consumption. It's people just sitting around and ripping it, and there's nothing wrong with that. But that doesn't help us reach people who, like you said, who are already dug in. They're like, cannabis, what?
Yeah,
that reefer madness. You know, it's.
Would you take shots on camera as like a 40-year-old with kids?
Yeah.
No. So why would you be doing crazy
I think about it all the time.
And smoke stuff like that? Just doesn't help progress the plan. That's my biggest beef with it.
It's a time and place for it in a sense too. Like,
you don't got to put on camera.
Yeah. Well, and that's why we started One Puff Media, because the options we had to get out there and get exposure and to have meaningful conversations with people who are really trying to move the industry forward. It was tough. All the channels were, you know, consumer friendly on camera, you know, geared towards in-industry audiences, and that doesn't help us. And do you think your event has helped? I mean, I personally do, but do you think your event has kind of helped push towards the legal vote? Because I think that
100%. I really
what other education is there in the state?
I mean, you had School of Cannabis. I mean, there was a lot of people who had, I guess, events and, you know, educational things that was going on, but nothing in a grand scheme of things.
Open
right?
to the public,
you
come, learn,
you got
educate.
6,000 people. Not that it was, I don't know what the number was as far as voters were concerned, but 6,000 people can translate into 60,000 people. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I'm telling you, you're going to tell your friend, you're going to tell your friend. Yeah. So when you saw the testimonials after, you know, which I need to put up on social media, but people were coming to me saying, man, I didn't even know that this existed for cannabis, right? I just thought it was, and I get this all the time, either you grew it, either you made some candy, some edibles, or whatever the case, or you had a store. That's all I knew about the cannabis industry. Not that you could be an artist making money from that. Not that you have a media company doing that. Not that you could be an advocating for sickle cell. Not that you could promote events that educated people. They furthest from their minds, right? So when they came to the event, that was one thing, but then all the reporters that were there from all these news outlets, they left with a different perspective too.
Probably blew their mind.
Well, they thought they were coming to a weed event, right? It's a difference, yes. We talk about weed, but it's not a stoner.
It's a B2B educational event, and it's wild that people don't really see it.
I mean, well, it depends. It depends on the consumer. It falls back to an informed consumer or educated consumer. There's different perspectives and different levels of people that are educated about this plant, or the levels that you can do business, or even how you guys were mentioning. People consuming on camera. Yes, in some ways that can be frowned upon, but think about it. There's people nowadays that do, shots on camera.
100%.
Yeah, I'm not saying that's good, but it's just all about the individual, their perspective, and what they're trying to get out, I guess, from it.
Yeah.
I think the cannabis community as a whole, though, just needs to come together. I mean, think about it. In some ways, we got the hemp side going against, THC. We got the legacy market, traditional, whatever you want to call it, going against the legal, and it's kind of like, well, why wouldn't anybody want to do business legal in a sense? Like, it's stressful in a lot of ways to do business already, but just to have to, not do it fully legal and transparent, that's a whole nother level. But I wish the way this plant brings people together after using it, I wish the industry, all the sides of it could come, have a sit down like this and figure it out. Like,
bro, if all people actually used it who were making money off of it, they wouldn't be making money off of it the way they are. You think the MSOs actually smoke weed? The people that run those companies?
I mean, not
smoke
everybody.
weed?
They
never touched a plant. They never planted a seed.
I wouldn't say everybody.
I'll say everybody.
No, I'm not.
I know most of those guys. Like, they don't smoke weed.
There's some.
They do
I
blow.
can't speak for that, but there's people that do, and there's people that don't. So I'm only speaking.
But if they
for
smoked weed, they would have an understanding of what we're fighting for. So if they're being
100%.
oppositional to what we're trying to do, which is access,
Mm-hmm.
that's the red line in the sand. Like, you're either trying to control access or you're trying to increase access.
Right.
And we can see very easily what people are trying to do based on how they spend their lobbying money. And if you're trying to control access to something that's been given to us as a gift from the universe, there's no breaking bread to me. Like,
Right,
on that, like, you just opposite. You got to come to my side of the table to increase access. Everybody who wants to increase access, we are all friends. Like,
Exactly.
but if you're trying to decrease access, like, no, it's on site.
No, I mean,
and that's how I view the MSOs. Like, no, it's on site. Like,
you
gotta come to. They gotta come to the
agree with you on that
table.
perspective, because like cannabis grows with or without human beings. There's different geographic locations.
It's farming us.
Yeah, exactly. So I agree with you on that. It's like as far as access, it's already accessible. It's just how accessible.
How accessible is it in Florida?
No, I mean my sister lives down there. It's not
Exactly.
What I'm saying, like in certain regions.
Talking about legally.
Yeah. See, exactly. Exactly. That's the thing. It's kind of that's the hassle. It's like legally or what's really legal as far as cannabis, because technically it grows with or without us.
If people were as risk tolerant as the people who established the industry, they would have already been smoking it. But when we're talking about trying to use education to reach the people who don't already actively consume cannabis, that's the group of people that it's the next wave that we have to go after, and that's all about access. And in Florida, you may not be able to afford a medical card. You may not be able to afford the regular re-up for it. Like, it may not be the strain that checks your boxes. And when Florida MSOs are actively lobbying against home grow, that's access. So that's where I'm like, I would love it if we could all get together on some stuff. That's why I try to push criminal justice reform, because it should be something everybody can agree on.
Agreed.
Unfortunately, experience with these large corporations has shown me that their level of empathy and awareness to the sacrifice made by so many people is just non-existent.
No, you're
that
right.
If they actually did smoke weed, I feel like it's borderline impossible to have that level of ignorance, because that's where I put them. I'm giving them the grace to say that.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, man.
They're miseducated or uneducated.
Yeah, but if they smoked weed,
Misinformed.
if they smoked weed, they would have the self-awareness to recognize that they're acting like pieces of shit, and they wouldn't continue to be so oppositional to what I would see as like access.
Or I would say,
No, I'm just gonna say, I got a different perspective. Like, I don't care if you smoke weed or not, right? It's just understanding the culture, right? So when you when you look at hip hop, and I'm sorry because I'm just a music guy, but when you look at how hip hop has transitioned marketing, right? For Walmart, for any of these brands, like they want to come in and utilize the culture, but don't understand how to do it. I think the same thing is relevant in cannabis. I don't have to be a weed smoker to understand that Roger is smoking because he's got a condition, right? I have to be sensitive to the reason why he's doing it. So that's in my opinion, that's why I'm coming at it with that angle. Like, I want to show you that it's okay for him to do it. Like, you ain't caring that he's drinking a beer, right?
Yeah.
Because it's normalized. So if we can't normalize the culture to people, and maybe that's why people smoking weed on camera, whatever the case, but they're doing it in an informed way, right? So I'm just blazing up and we hotboxing this room. Okay, what does that mean? We just having a good time,
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So the person that's negative on our industry now has got something to run back and say, you know what? See, I told you, everybody in this whole industry, all they do is smoke weed, and they not productive with anything.
Yeah, they're not doing anything productive from it. Now, it's all about presentation and perspective. But no, I think I got a perfect case in point. My sister, like, used to live here in Ohio, was a medical patient. She had sickle cell too. Moved to Florida. Shit was crazy as far as just trying to get her access to cannabis down there. Cost is different. In terms of medical licenses is different. It's just all and it's like it's the same damn plant. And I was also trying to get my sister, my mom, properly informed and educated too, because she's like her caregiver. So it was just a challenge, and it's always been, and that's what kind of sucks as a whole with the industry, is where you can go to one state line or one state and it's this way, and then you go to this type of access, then you go to another state and it's this type of access. It's kind of like, yo, we need people. There's people that really have, shout out to, I forget her name, Dr. Kurt or whatever, Reefer Wellness. There's people that literally get wellness from cannabis, and
1,000%.
So we are ruining people's quality of lives and access by changing up all of these rules and regulations for the same plant. We kind of just need to, figure it out as a whole. I went to DC too for with NCIA, it's the National Cannabis Lobby Association. These people that make our laws and vote for everything are so out of tune with cannabis.
They're very disconnected.
Yeah, so just the simple
But
things.
I think it goes back to what you said about consumerism, right? If they consume, not even if you consume, right? It's about being an understanding around people who are consuming, right? I think that's probably more in most people, because of the reefer madness. Most people, because of politics right now, there is kind of an age bracket that holds all political seats at this point. In those people, the ones making decisions are so disconnected because they're not consumers. The majority are not consumers, and they haven't spent time around people who consume cannabis to understand, wow, those people are actually more pleasant than the people just ripping shots or doing whatever. But that's socially acceptable. And going back to and everyone should do whatever they want, in my opinion, right? You want to smoke on camera, you want to do whatever, but to have a real meaningful education to bring everything
full circle.
Just forward to the people who aren't okay with cannabis yet.
Right.
Because that's really the hindrance. And I think the easiest solution is to decriminalize and just remove any restrictions about cannabis on a federal level. Everyone can grow it if they want. If you don't want people in your state to grow it, then have your states, and have the people in your state vote on it. And I don't, and not even vote on it. Everyone should be allowed to grow cannabis anyways, right? And if you have a means to produce that much product and you want to try and run an illicit grow, well, that's your go ahead and do it, right? I mean, that's my mentality.
It's not easy.
And I think it should be it's definitely not easy. And there's a reason that those things will naturally get phased out as the industry evolves to,
100%.
unfortunately, to a point where the business isn't running and there's enough product in each state, in each market, where to grow your own or try to compete against the legal market, well, that would just be, it wouldn't be advantageous for a profit if you're trying to just grow in a gray market when you have a bunch of legal options.
Right.
And where the licenses are accessible, you can have more dispensaries, more grow, and then allow consumers to grow. I think which is the most important thing is the educational part. If you grew a cannabis plant, you would know that it's not just this crazy thing. You know, it's a process. There's work. You can actually learn about the plant.
It's therapy.
There's just so much to it, and making your own medicine is something that's just beyond, right?
Nature.
Well, exactly. My parents use every aspect of the plant when they grow it, and they use it for their ailments and how bad my mom's hands have gotten with like rheumatoid arthritis, and she had to have both her hips replaced and all these things. And she uses the plant to grow it and make balm. She calls it, what does she call her balms that she uses for the roots? Canuck. And it's this Canuck oil she makes, and it causes just instant relief. Super high potent. It's like an RSO, if you will, but she makes it herself, and I think that's important, especially being in a state where it's not even medically accessible.
Right.
So it's just so important. I think every state should have events like yours to bring everyone together to help educate the actual consumers.
More educated, focused cannabis, business educated. It's both. Let me say that. I said it backwards. Education first, business, and then cannabis. Just all that combined. Like that style of, and I said it earlier, that style of events is unique into this industry. So if you can expand that, or some, inspire others to do that, I think that will only help grow the, continue to grow the support of this community.
I mean, like Greg said earlier, there's seemingly like a closed network, right? We don't want to let other people in the space because we're fearful maybe of them getting access to money that we need, right? Or that we kind of want to safeguard. Well, we can't expand the industry if we don't tell people what it is, right? Let them, so I mean, that's really why I let consumers into the show, right? Yeah. Because we gotta let them feel comfortable. That was a word that somebody used. Yeah. Without being comfortable with anything, you kind of shy away from it, right? Yeah. Because if I know I'm gonna go down this alley and get jumped or robbed,
I ain't going down.
I'm not. But maybe if I knew it was two guys and I knew what I was up against, okay, maybe I could take these two dudes. So I'm gonna go down the alley and take my chances, right? Because in your mind, you're just thinking like, I'm comfortable with whatever the outcome possibly could be.
Right.
So smoking, whoever smokes around me, okay, dude, you smoking for what? Like, I mean, I own a lot of real estate, right? So I got a lot of tenants. And back in the day, I was never the guy to be like, hey, you can't smoke in my house, whatever the case. But when I got into the space, I started asking questions.
Yeah.
Because not to be nosy about what you're doing, but why are you smoking weed just to be smoking, or are you smoking for? Most of the tenants had epilepsy. I never knew that, right? So they were ahead of me. Like, this was controlling my epilepsy and keeping me from having seizures or what have you, or PTSD patients. And I was like, wow. So looking at it from a medical perspective, understanding at that side, it just opened my mind up a whole different way.
See, you bring up a good point, because as a medical patient and just worker, I had an incident where not a homeowner, but I was a renter, and even before I moved in, I showed the landlord my card, or like my medical badge and my medical card. It's like, here, you can have a copy for the lease, all that. Oh, no worries, you're fine. About a year and a half go by, the neighbor up above is complaining, just the scent is so unbearable. And I'm like, in the morning before work, and honestly after that night, evening, and I'd be a long day at work, 12-hour shifts. I'm like, this lady is lying. Even though I had a 90-year-old neighbor on the other side, never complained. She understood.
Hi there, Budz. Sorry for the random interruption. To pick up where I left off on the story, my 90-year-old neighbor actually was very nice and kind. She actually would hear me out about my courage in cannabis story, and actually the book. She received one of them, and was always supportive. you know, I would help her out. She would help me out if ever needed. Not much from her, but just really just more to listen or vent, or even to feel like someone, you know, had my back as far as understanding my living situation and my use of my medicine. You know, what was unfortunate was the neighbor that actually complained about my use of cannabis. She even told me that her father used it, but he only consumed edibles, so that, you know, I should figure out a way. And it's like, you know, although I tried to invite her to take a tour and see that I worked with edibles, and also that I consumed in many ways due to my not only preference, but just me figuring out what works and what doesn't and how. She never really gave me the chance, so that's kind of definitely what has always driven me to fight and advocate for not only the sickle cell warriors out there, but anybody that's not necessarily a homeowner and they're still renting, but they still have a legit reason and you know, life need to use cannabis for their medicine. This fight isn't over. We need our rights. We need support. We need help. The fight for cannabis legalization is nowhere near over, and neither is this episode. We're almost over, but pardon as it was a bit interrupted. Some of the footage was actually lost due to the battery of the camera dying. And as we all know these days, or I should say true content creators out there, we know that mistakes happen, and just also things that you can't control, it's out of your control, happens all the time. I did my best to make sure I patched up the remaining pieces of this conversation just to finish it and provide still some good education out there for the people. So please, you know, don't judge on that aspect, but I do thank everybody that was involved and anyone that decided to support and listen. Thanks again, and we appreciate y'all. Happy medicating. We're all just Budz, just growing. Peace.
3 tech companies, or you're like destined to a life of solitude as a man. And like we're racing towards that, like, and I think that cannabis breaks the entire cycle of all of that mentality.
Yeah, I mean, before the cameras turned on, we was kind of talking about that, right? Like, we thought this industry was like going to be really kumbaya, everybody was getting along with each other, and then we get in it, and it's like, nah, that's not the case.
You know, that's the finite versus the infinite. You're playing an infinite game, believing that like when this round ends, like, hey, at least you played a good round and you feel good about it, where other people are playing like the clock's gonna tick out at it like it's 60 and I've got to make sure I've collected as many points as possible by 60, because they're not concerned about just their energetic inputs in the world. They're only concerned about like what they consume. So when you're talking about how you're trying to build a community and you want to find like-minded people, that sounds like you're playing an infinite game. You're playing the game the right way because that's the way you're wired to play it.
Right.
Whether you get the direct reward or not, like that's not why you're doing it.
Yeah.
So it's less transactional, it's more authentic, it's more Midwest, and I honestly believe that there are more people like this around the world than view the world transactionally. Right. They may be confused momentarily, but we will help bring them back to where they realize like it doesn't have to be a transaction. It can actually just be like, you know, the universe is putting me in a groove, and if I stay there, I'm going to be rewarded with something sometime.
Right.
Like that's what weed has given me, at least. So like when you were talking about that, I was like, hell yeah, you're building in the way that I do, which is based on a vibe with people, knowing that what you're going to accomplish together is going to be worth like, you know, short-term setbacks, or you know, it takes a long time to build something ethical, especially in weed.
Right. It don't. Miracles don't happen overnight, or like miracle blessings. But at the same time, something my uncle actually always said, and he was like, you know, I think the cannabis can bring people to this type of relationship, but like where word used to be bond in back in the day, where I know there's a lot of paperwork, don't get me, but like these days, you know, you do have to do that, but it used to just be like whatever bond and trust I got with a human, we gonna shake our hand and, you know, get it done, and like work together. Or like even just skills and trade, like basically people would just find ways to work together in that way. I think that's the way cannabis can bring our community back together or get people thinking in that type of like mindset where it's like, how do we help each other like together, like wholly or as a community, like in a wholesome way, not just how can I make money from you or off you in a sense. Like,
we're at a weird point where like name, reputation, and shame is no longer as valued as how much money you make, and you can be somebody that is a net vampire on society, like introducing a product that literally like kills people. But if you make enough money, there are enough idiots that'll elevate you to some level of celebrity to where you don't have to actually be accountable for your actions on this level. You know, you're playing a finite game. You collected all your resources. You're the king of your little domain, and like you don't care about anything that happens next. But like, they're not going to be remembered in history. Like, that's the other thing is right now with weed, this is our opportunity to really change a lot of shit. Like, this has been a plant that's been illegal for 100 years and it's got a million different practical applications that replace a lot of really bad things for the environment and for people.
talk about that all the time.
Like,
Cannabis
the
actual
actual
use of the plant.
yeah, the cannabis health index.
This is our generation's opportunity to change the world fundamentally. Fundamentally change the trajectory of humankind. And we're getting lost in the plot. Like, if we do our jobs right now in our lifetimes, everybody who comes next gets better access than we had.
Yeah.
And if we don't focus on that, it's incredibly disrespectful to all the people who have sacrificed their lives, their times with families, everything to get the movement to where we have. And that's my biggest beef is like there are people who are coming into the industry taking pieces out of the pie that not only do they not help build, but they don't even understand the ingredients and why it's so sacred.
Yeah.
And if you came in and you expanded the pie and you helped us educate and you brought the culture with you as a valued pillar, and you focused on medicine and not KPIs, like, we wouldn't be at odds.
I think the majority of people come in that regard, even with the wrong mentality in mind, right? You know, they're coming in not with the mentality of let's provide further access to this incredible plant to people and educate, but we're coming in, hey, look, I know we can make money on this because, people are gonna buy weed, let's make money on it. And they're not aligned with the culture per se. They don't even care about an educational message. They just want the money. And there's definitely people like that. And it's shitty, and it's kind of one-off as it sounds. I think they're important to the industry for a number of reasons. One, because I think as long as they're not advocating and preventing access, like we were talking about earlier, like in Florida, then they should be in it too. And they should be in it too because I think everyone should be in it. And ultimately, them even having access or gaining cash from cannabis or from the consumers, I think is better for everyone. Because even somebody coming in who has no idea about cannabis, the culture, the plant, the medicinal benefit, anything, right? And all they want is a license to make money. I can still see value in the education that they're going to provide, right? Because they're at least putting resources of their own back in, money back in, time back in, and hopefully it'll educate them as well.
Whether they want to or not, they're going to see the results of other people, I think. Because like I totally get what you're saying, but there's also like still, whether it's mid-grade cannabis or not, cannabis itself has still proven to people that don't use it that this actually changes people's lives. And there's so many walks of lives that come in these businesses for this plant, and it's crazy. Like it's just shocking to see. Like damn, like he said, so many conditions out that it helps with. There's a book, the Cannabis Health Index. I'll never forget when I was just scrolling in the index, just fucking around like sick of stuff. I'm like, and then there's just so many other conditions, and it's like, man, this one plant. I mean, obviously it's different genetics, but this one plant helps so many conditions. Things, and like you said, like it can wipe out a lot of other chemicals that we are using in almost this simple way.
I think when you think about it from human nature, right? We're bred to be competitors, right? In a sense, right? So it's like this group is different, and the reason why we clicked, and I'm using my own experience when I came up in the music industry. I'll never forget this one guy. I won't mention his name, but I was an intern with this guy, right? With a guy who, when I first started with Virgin Records, I was answering this guy's phone because he was never there at work, right? So I was brought in and learning the industry on my own, but people would call radio station programmers, hey, I need this record, can you send it out to me? Yeah, I got you, whatever. But I'll never forget, there was this one guy, he was so disrespectful to me. Didn't know me from Adam, but because I was new, he felt I had no value, right? I had no worth to him. So he basically told me verbatim, you're not allowed to talk to me because you're still wet behind the ears. I can still hear him saying this on the phone, right? So fast forward 6 years later, the dude at that time I had my radio show. He had to come to me to get his records. And I made him remember that, right? Don't call me because I had no value to you 4 years ago, 5 years, whatever it was. Oh man, that didn't mean nothing by that. Right. You didn't mean nothing by it because now I can help you. Yeah. So when we're talking about the cannabis space, and I guess I shared with you guys, I didn't even put my name on my own event for 4 years because I didn't care about the accolades. It wasn't about that, right? I was so fearful that people weren't going to come to my event because I was a black guy, right? Or there was some racial divide between whether I'm gonna go because I'm black or he's a Baptist or Christian. Right. I didn't care nothing about none of that, right? Just come, see what the industry had to offer, and let me educate you with an unbiased opinion, right? But I had to eventually put my name on it because people were taking credit for what I was doing. So I was like, okay, fine, I can't just let this go, without somebody saying it's this guy's business. Right. But I say all that to say that I think if we are able to basically
if we take away the pride, ego, and even the race side of things, this cannabis industry, I think we can definitely change the nation and heal it with this cannabis plant. And I do think that that's part of what Lenny was trying to express, but feel free to ask him when you see him, or hey, reach out. If you don't see him, reach out to him and maybe ask. But I do thank you if you really made it this far, and if you truly understand the art and consequences sometimes of being a content creator. Things happen you can't always control, but gotta adapt and pivot. I'm happy to still provide majority of this interview to you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed and actually learned some things. Thank you again to my guests that were a part of it. And remember, we're all just buds growing. Happy medicating, y'all. And we could really change, the world with this cannabis. But it's all about our perspective and our approach. We can actually help provide justice the correct way and the right way if we do it correctly as well. So keep that in mind and have a heart. Peace, y'all. Time well spent.